In the last video I made a jig for ripping strips safely and all this other stuff. Today I'm sharpening my knives for a day of whittling. It's finally time to carve ourselves a Teleblaster guitar neck. To episode 12 of this Luthier's Workshop build series. I've made a neck for my friend Jamie Hutchison over in Canada, but it's got one problem. When I turn it over, you can see it's a tetragon. That's my favourite type of dinosaur, but very uncomfortable to play music on. First up, we give the workpiece a little beard, and this shows me what material to remove. I go all around the neck pocket area and just scribble all over it. I also draw a center line on the back and mark off the headstock area where I want to carve the transition. Now we're going to draw in some facets. The first mark is at the first fret. Then I spin it over and do it on the other side. Now I have to do exactly the same thing on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, the 12th fret. Once that's done, I connect the lines at both fret positions. Back at the first fret, I draw a mark 5mm on either side of the center line. Then I do the same thing at the 12th fret, but at a spacing of 10mm on either side of the center line. Now I join the markings on each side. Make sure your lines go all the way to your transitions like mine didn't. There we go, fixed it. No one will ever know. The next line I have to do is 2/3 of the depth of the neck, including fretboard. I draw my line at the third closest to the fretboard edge. I just did it at the 12th fret, then I do it again at the 1st, then join those lines. Don't forget to do the other side of the neck as well. Something I like to do with each new design tweak is to prototype the piece using hardware store Pine. It's really easy to work with, and it really helps to have something you can hold in your hands for reference. Neck builders do most of their seeing with their fingers, if that makes sense. So let's take a look at the tools you'll want to use in neck construction. First thing, you'll need a rasp. They come in all different shapes and sizes. Like this. As long as it hogs out wood, it really doesn't matter. Some people use an angle grinder or even a bandsaw. I'm very cautious when it comes to neck building, so I just stick with the hand tools. That's a nice spoke shave, and I'd say it's indispensable for this. These are razor files from Stu Mac. They also do these cute little ones. They're good for more detailed work. You'll want a really accurate ruler that won't warp or bend.
Can't see it.
There we go. If you have customers that want specific neck profiles, not just whatever you think is good, then profile gauges are essential. Grab yourself a strip of 80 grit sandpaper about 25 centimeters long and some mini scrapers. This next tool is just a flat piece of wood with 80 grit sandpaper glued to it. Grab the wood from your scrap pile. I used an old prototype neck section, and of course, you'll need a couple of knives. This is my neck buck. You can just use your workbench instead, but this has all the features I want in it. It also has a wobbly base that I'll never get around to fixing. Okay, Jamie's neck is clamped in, it's sitting flat. It's a 35°C day here in Australia and we're ready to go. Here's what Temple Guitars videos would look like if I made them in the 70s, because one of my cameras isn't as good as the other one. This is the spoke shave, making nice curly shavings. You can see I'm carving at an angle between two of the lines I drew a minute ago. We're basically trying to hog out as much wood as we can and get as close to those lines as possible. The spoke shave is actually really good at clearing material quickly, but you have to keep a very close eye on it. You don't want to go over those lines. Right now I'm having a feel of the transition to get an idea of how much I'd like to take off the workpiece. Your fingers are unbelievably sensitive to differences in height of fractions of a human hair's width, so they're a great tool you already have. Now I'm blending again with the spoke shave. I'm not pressing down hard at all here. Please don't ever buy a cheap spoke shave. Buy a quality one, the cheap ones just don't work. Okay, I'm scribbling again. If you cross-hatch the area you want to carve with a soft pencil, you can easily see where your high and low spots are. Right now I'm using a big razor file from StewMac. This way I can get nice and close to those lines without taking away as much material as a rasp would take. I'm super careful when I do this. It may look like I'm just hacking away, but my eyes are on both lines at all times and I'm controlling the file with my wrist, as well as adjusting finger pressure as needed. I'm Australian, so I say finger funny. Keep cross-hatching as much as you need to get a nice flat facet. It would make sense to use a scraper to flatten out the facet, but mine is blunt, so I'll use my sanding stick instead. You can use it lengthwise, or you can turn it sideways and carefully watch the angle. We're getting very close to the lines now. Here I'm quickly penciling in my heel transition. If you're just starting out, I'd make it a lot longer, but we're going to live on the edge with this one. And now I'm doing everything I just did again on the other side. Gloop, 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 gloop. That's looking nice. Now I've made those two facets, I'm drawing up two more. The first line goes halfway between the two lines we were just working with. The second line is the center line. I've just propelled us forward through time a bit to show you we now have three facets on one side. That's the third. So what we want to do is we want to round over between our second and third facets. You can use anything you like, even just a sanding block. The next move is to draw on how thick you want your neck to be. I'm going for a 90s Fender Strat profile here, so there's the measurements for that. Here I'm just using the spoke shave to bring us down to the level that I'm after. I don't go all the way down to the markings, and I'll show you why in just a second. That's all roughed in. A strip of sandpaper is another secret weapon in the neck builder's arsenal. I've faceted both sides of the neck, and the paper evens out the ridges. It also takes a bit of material off the center line, and it's this that brings me to my neck thickness. How you do your transitions is entirely up to you. I rough cut my shape in with knives, then use razor files and sandpaper. This all looks pretty quick, but it's hours after I started. What I'm doing here is I'm applying finger pressure onto the left-hand side of the rasp. That way, I'm only cutting the transition and not the neck. Using a ruler helps you find high spots, which I mark in soft pencil, then flatten out. Okay, that's all roughed in. Now I have to do the transition at the neck pocket. Damn it, I always try and hide my milk crates when I'm filming, but I get preoccupied and they always make an appearance. Always constantly measure with your ruler. You don't want to get carried away and make an accidental divot, or all of your work will have been wasted.
Gloop, 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 gloop.
It's hours and hours later and 40 degrees Celsius in the workshop, but things are finally looking and feeling like a guitar neck. In order to get it even closer, it's back to the guitar's neck pocket to isolate the last of the material to be removed. We drew another little beard on there.
Yeah, draw a beard on it.
And it's back to the neck buck to take away the last of that material. There's still a tiny lip left, and I remove this with sandpaper. Using a portable light allows you to highlight any inconsistencies in your sanding. And there it is. After all of that sanding, carving, rasping, to follow are all of the other grits of sandpaper to get it to the stage where it feels smooth and ready to accept finish. There's something else that I would like to do to that heel joint, but before we do that, I just want to check out the general state of the neck itself. So I've got the radius gauge here, and I found a high spot on my right hand side at the 1st fret position. It's there again at the 7th, and when I move it down to the 12th, you'll see that it's there again as well. I have a favorite way to stand at the neck buck, and I'm right hand dominant, so this is something that I see quite often with my neck builds. It's easily rectified. We just grab the sanding stick and break it down. So after a good sand, I can see there's still a remnant at the 1st fret, but when I get to the 7th fret it's gone, and when I get to the 12th fret it's gone again. So it's just a matter of concentrating on that 1st fret area and the transition. If you find this happens to you, don't freak out. It'd actually be weird if it didn't happen to you. The process of neck carving is all about incremental measurement, doing a bit of work, a bit more measuring, a bit more work. I told you I had something else in store for that neck pocket transition, so I'm just chucking up my smallest round file, and I'm using that to get into that really tiny little space to clean up the transition. After a quick blast with that improvised tool, I finally got it roughed out to where I'm happy.
Gloop, 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 gloop.
Hey, we did it, you guys. It's been a really long hot day in the workshop, but this neck is looking absolutely killer. If you want to see it get finished off, don't forget to check me out on Instagram, Temple Guitars. Hope to see you next time.